All right, so let's begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so we stopped up to here, if I'm not mistaken. لقد غمض الغد عن العقول ودق شخصه عن الأنظار. Right, so straightforward جملة فعلية, verbal sentences. غمض الغد, فعل and فاعل and متعلق عن العقول, which means tomorrow has become obstructed or has become mysterious from minds. عن العقول. ودق, دق means when something becomes really small. You may have heard the word daqiq. Right? Daqiq means something really accurate or to the point. Right? So when we say al-kitabu daqiq, the book is accurate, to the point and precise. Okay, so the verb form is daqqa. Daqqa yadiqqu means, and daqiq is the masdar, means to be precise. وَدَقَّ شَخْصُهُ عَنِ الْأَنْظَارِ. It could mean precise, it could also mean to the point, in other words, really, really small. Right? So daqqa also has the meaning of being really small. وَدَقَّ شَخْصُهُ. And we said shakhs means a person, usually it refers to a person. But really another understanding of shakhs is a fully formed object. Okay, a fully formed object is known as shakhs, and because a human being is a fully formed object, we refer to insan or human being also as shakhs, referring to person, right? وَدَقَّ شَخْصُهُ. So this is the fa'il as well. وَدَقَّ شَخْصُهُ عَنِ الْأَنظَارِ. So its form has become hidden from sights, from eyesight, from those who see, anzar, right? From onlookers. So that's where we stop. Okay. So it's still talking about tomorrow and comparing tomorrow to many different things. And he will continue to do that in the next few lines as well. Okay, and then he says, حتى لو, right? حتى لو. What are some of the meanings of hatta that you remember, that you've come across? Hatta. Until, right? Until, then, or sometimes it could be used even, right? For example, I could say, let's say if you're not expecting someone to come, you will say, جاء الولد حتى البنت. Right? The boy came, even the girl. In other words, even the girl came. Perhaps you were not expecting her to come. While hatta means until. You know, the Quran says, Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. The night is peaceful until the dawn. Right? However, when hatta is combined with law, in order to, that can also be one of its meanings. Here, hatta law can mean two things. It could mean even if. Right? Hatta law, even if. Or you could also understand it as to the point where, which kind of have the same meaning. Right? And we know that law means if or when. So even if, hatta law anna insanan, to the point that, right? To the point that, and we know anna is that, anna insanan, and that's why it's mansub, because it's khabar anna. To the point, or even if a human being, insanan, what does this human being do? رفع قدمه. Right? رفع يرفع means to raise. Right? رفع قدمه. And this is the مفعول به. قدمه. حتى لو أن إنسانا رفع قدمه, to the point where when a human being, or to the point that a human being raises his feet, right, his 1 feet. Why does he raise his feet? ليضعها, right? So this li here is lam sabab, or it gives the reason. ليضعها. وضع يضع, this is the fi'al mudari'. يضع means to place or to put. I could say وضعت الكتاب على الطاولة. I placed the book on the desk, on the table. Right? يضعها, to put it. What do you think the ha is referring to? Put it. What is the it referring to? The ha. To the qadam, isn't it? To the feet. And we said, and we mentioned before, that dual parts of humans, they considered feminine, right? So qadam, a foot, right, is considered feminine. A yad, hand, is considered feminine. Ayn is considered feminine, right? So that's why it said ليضعها. He didn't say ليضعه, right? ليضعها في خروجه. We know fi means in. Khuruj means exit, right? So in his exit, or when he's exiting, right? خروجه من باب, right? من باب قصره, from the door of his palace. And I'll come to the overall meaning. From the door of his palace, من باب قصره, لا يدري, he does not know, right? لا يدري means he does not know. لا يدري يضعها, he does not know. Now this is a question, right? So just saying is a question. For example, I could say أفعلت هذا? Did you really do this? Right? It's very similar to هل, right? So hal and are sometimes interchangeable in their usage, right? So, but obviously they have some differences as well. لا يدري أيضعها. So وضع يضع is to place, and we know that the default state of fi'l mudari is marfu', and there's nothing to make the fi'l mudari mansub or majzoom, so we say it's dhamma, right? The default state of fi'l mudari is marfu'. أيضعها على, upon, عتبة القصر. عتبة القصر. We know qasr means palace. Ataba refers to, you could say, a doorstep, right? So ataba could be a doorstep, or it could be basically the first step that you take outside the house, right? So let's say you open the door, and that first step that you take to put in when you exit the house, right? So that's ataba. So atabatul, let's say, if I say atabatul bayt, it means the doorstep of the house, that first step that you take outside the house. Atabatul qasr is the first step that you take outside the palace. Basically refers to doorstep. Okay, and that's what I think doorstep also means in English. Is that area just outside the door, right? Okay, so here he says, so what's he trying to say? حتى لو أن إنسانا, right? So tomorrow is mysterious, it's ambiguous, it's not really clear, right? Its whole object and shape and form is really daqiq, really small, tiny, precise, not really, you can't really, like, when you look at it, it's really, really small, right? From those who are watching. Even if a person, when he raises his feet to put it, to put the feet when he's going outside, in his exiting, or when he exits from the door of his palace, he is not sure. Does he place it on the doorstep of the palace, or على حافة القبر. حافة القبر is usually used together, which means, literally it means edge of the grave, right? So حافة, the meaning of حافة, and there's a shadda on the ha, على حافة القبر, right? So حافة means edge of the grave. Basically, it means, when you place the body, in the grave, that's like almost taking a footstep outside your own house or outside your own palace. And he's using palace here because someone could be well off and extremely rich, but he's not sure when he walks out. Is he going to walk out on the doorstep of his palace, or will he be, put in the grave, basically? Okay, be put in the grave. Should the verb be مجزوم ليضعها حتى لو انصرف قدمه ليضعها. You could have a point there. حتى لو إنسانا. But this is not. I don't think this is a jawab, right? Because jawab is usually if something happens, then this will happen. But in this case, it's just saying that even if a person puts his feet outside, so that it's not a conditional statement, right? It's not a conditional statement. It's just the lam here is giving the reason of putting the feet outside. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. So it's very unlikely for it to be a shart in this case, because it's not like if I put my feet out, then I will exit or something like that, right? It's not really. There's no condition. There's no strict condition there. Is that clear? Is that passage clear, everyone? So what did hafa? Hafa means edge of something. If I say hafatul jabal, it means the edge of the mountain, right? The corner. You can see the corner of a mountain, right? So in Arabic, when someone wants, let's say, someone could say, if someone is driving really fast and carelessly, right? You could say, huwa ala hafatil qabr. What it means is that the meaning expressed is, the literal meaning is that he's on the edge of the grave. But what it means is that he's going to kill himself. Right? When someone says, huwa ala hafatil qabr, literally it means he's upon the edge of the grave. It means he's so close to dying. Right? Like he's driving carelessly, he's going to kill himself. Right? So this is you can say like a saying in Arabic, ala hafatil qabr. Very close to passing away. So his whole point here is that someone does not even know when they go out, will they ever return back, right? Or the foot or the step that you take, maybe someone can, if it's time of a war, you can get shot at, or you could just pass away on the spot. But basically, you're not sure, right? When you put your foot outside, are you putting it on your doorstep, or are you getting close to the grave, or are you being put in the grave? Okay, so I hope that was clear.
Afwan, Ustaz, why can we use hafatil maut instead? Usually they use hafatil qabr, which also mean hafatil maut. Is it?
Yeah. I think you can use hafatul maut, although I haven't heard that much. I've heard hafatul qabr a lot.
So traditionally for Arabic language, we use hafatil qabr instead.
Yeah. So they use. If you Google this hafatul qabr, you'll probably come with a lot of videos where the person is very close to death. Like it could be a very bad accident or something like that. So hafatul qabr is basically like saying someone is very close to dying. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so first he said that al-ghadu shabahun, right? That tomorrow or the future is like an unknown object. You can, in English we say a ghost. Now he's saying al-ghadu sadrun. Right? This is once again a jumla ismiya. So let me write the harakat. Al-ghadu sadrun, and sadr means chest. Right? Sadr means chest. Al-ghadu sadrun. The future is a chest, but not just a chest of a human being. Mamlu'un. Mamlu'un. Mamlu' means filled with. Mamlu' means filled with. And mamlu' usually comes with the ba. Filled with. And the with is the harfu jar ba. Okay? Mamlu'un bil asrar. Filled with secrets. And I've mentioned most of these in the vocab list. Mamlu'un bil asrar. Filled with secrets. Not just secrets, but al-ghizar. Right? So this one, you can say plenty, a lot. Okay, and they use al-ghizar to refer to heavy rain as well. They say matarun ghazir, for example, heavy rain. So bil asraril ghizar, that's ghizar. Okay, so up to this point, tomorrow is a chest. In other words, is like, right? This is what I said. Sometimes you say something is something, but what you're really saying is it's almost the same. But we can say tomorrow or the future is like a chest filled, or you can say even a heart. It's like a heart filled with plenty of secrets, right? Or you can say kathir, for example. Another word for ghizar is kathir. I'm sure you're more familiar with kathir, right? You can say bil asrar al kathira, with many secrets, right? Mawsuf sifa. With these two mawsuf sifa. A lot, many. Right? With many secrets. So the future is like a chest or a heart, and sadr can also refer to heart sometimes, or the inner self of a human being. The Quran uses sadr to mean chest, but it also means the innermost, being of a person. So that's also another meaning for that. So the future is like a heart or a chest filled with many secrets. Okay. And then here we have this fi'l tahumu. Tahumu hawlahu, and hawla is ism makan. Hawlahul basair. Tahumu hawlahul basair. Basair. Okay, let's do tahumu first. So the verb is hama yahumu. Okay, the verb is here, this one. Yeah. So hama yahumu, hawman means to hover around, right? To circle, to circle something, like, to keep. Let's say if usually they use this for eagles and so on, right? It keeps tahumu hawla al-hayawan. It keeps going around, the animal that is trying to eat or whatever. So they say tahumu hawla, right? Tahumu. Hama yahumu means to go around. For those who are doing 442 with me, Arabic skills 2, another word for tawaf, because tawaf is going around in circles, is this one, right? Hawm. Hawm is also going around in circles. So you can say it's a synonym of the same word. So تحوم حوله البصائر. حوله is around it, right? Around it. Al-basair is the jama', the plural of basira. Very important word to know. Basira means inner sight. Basira means inner sight. It doesn't necessarily mean you're looking with your eyes. That's more nazar, right? So nazar, nazara yanzuru is to look usually with the eyes. Basira or basara yabsuru means to look with the inner eye, right? In other words, you're deciphering the situation. You are reading the situation. I think that's what it's called. Like, you know, in English when we say he's reading the situation, doesn't mean he's literally reading a book, right? Basira is the innermost sight, that the insights of a human being, right? So here, this is the fa'il for the verb tahumu, right? حوله is just a ظرف مكان. So تحوم حوله البصائر means inner sights go in circles around it. Okay, so I'm giving you a very literal meaning. Basically, the idea is that, you know, deep down, people are going around the future, right? Around the future, trying to understand the future once again, trying to predict it, trying to see what will happen, what will come up, right? So this is an imagery of the situation, right? So the anzar, you know, with the eyes we look, but it's mysterious, right? With the inner side, we try to sort of predict what's going to happen. We go around tomorrow. Tahumu hawlahu al-basair. Inner sides go around it in circles, right? And then it says وَتَتَسَقَّطُهُ الْعُقُولُ. تَتَسَقَّطُهُ الْعُقُولُ. We know عقول means minds. تتسقط تسقط يتسقط. No. So which verb do you think this belongs to? You always have to sort of trial and error. If we say تسقط, which is form number 5, تسقط يتسقط تتسقط, right? Sounds like form number 5. تقبل يتقبل تتقبل. تتقبل is used for the feminine. So تسقط يتسقط تتسقط. And why is he using the feminine version? Because you use the verb, the verb's gender, it depends on the fa'il. So why is he using feminine here? Why not say يتسقطه العقول?
Ukul is feminine.
عقول
It's
is
feminine.
considered or treated as feminine. Okay, so عقول itself is not feminine. So basically, non-human plurals, right? Non-human plurals are treated singular feminine. This is the very famous rule. Non-human plurals are treated. When we say treated, we mean from a grammar point of view as singular feminine. Okay. So this is the fa'il. Al-uqul is the fa'il. So it's saying that the minds, you know, do this tatasaqqud. And I'll come to the meaning, but just note, understand why he used the feminine form. غير عاقل جمع. That's right. That's the Arabic form. Okay. So al-uqul. So it's referring to al-uqul here, because the verb always reflects the fa'il's gender. Okay. The verb that you use has to always reflect the fa'il's gender. All right. So تتسقطه العقول. Now, what does تتسقط mean? We go back to our vocab list and go to the expressions. Oh, by the way, I included some more this morning. I'm not sure if you're going to reach it, but تتسقطه العقول. Okay, let's see what it says. Literally, it means the minds. I don't know why I have two minds there. My mind wasn't working at that point, probably. The minds try to receive news or information about it little by little. Right? تتسقط. Sometimes they use this also for droplets of water. تتسقط المطر or الماء. It means that it's dropping little by little, right? So تتسقطه العقول, it means, literally it means that the minds are trying to seek. You know, the form number 10 has, form number 5 can also have the meaning of going after something, right? So the minds are trying to receive information, but little by little, bit by bit, right? And what's the meaning? Minds attempt to understand it, the future, by looking at clues, taking educated guess, analyzing data, etc. Right, bit by bit. تتسقطه العقول. Minds try to understand it bit by bit. وتستدرجه الأنظار. Very similar meaning to the previous one. Very similar meaning. So تستدرجه الأنظار. The meaning is, and I didn't put a literal meaning because the meaning is actually the literal meaning. It means sights, those looking, right? Remember, anzar is the eyesight, those who are looking. Anzar is eyesight. Try to understand it once again, step by step. Okay, very similar meaning. The imagery here is that someone is far away, and it's hard to figure out who or what it is. However, as this object comes closer, those who are looking, and nadirun, those who are looking, are able to discern slowly who or what it is, right? And this happens in our life. When you see something really far, you might think it's something, and then when it comes close to you, it's somebody else, or it's a different object. It could be a car. If a car's really far, you're trying to figure out the model, and then as it gets close, تستدرج السيارة, as the car gets closer to you, slowly and slowly, it becomes more understandable as to what it is. Okay, so istidraj is step by step. Okay, istidraj is step by step. وتستدرجه الأنظار. Okay. So the future is very stubborn, right? So then what does he say? فلا, so it, فلا يبوح بسر, فلا باح يبوح, يبوح ب, usually it comes with B, بسر من أسراره. Okay, so let's look at the meaning. So باح يبوح بوحا means to reveal secrets, right? باح بالأسرار is he revealed the secrets. Okay. So here he says, فلا يبوح بسر, it does not reveal even one secret. Right? بسر, even with a secret, it's indefinite, right? With a secret, from its secrets, right? It does not even فلا يبوح, it does not reveal a secret from its collection of secrets, right? إلا, except, إلا إذا جادت الصخرة بالماء الزلال. Okay, this is like you probably will never get this until someone tells you. It was the same thing with me. I had to ask, someone, really high in Arabic, what does this mean? Because these things probably appears a lot in adab books, poetry and so on, or literature books, and you have to sort of have a very good understanding of Arabic to know these comparisons. So here he's saying, I think I've included it here. Okay, this one, it has nothing to do with the literal meaning. So جادت الصخرة. جاد يجود means to give generously. Okay? If you guys have heard the name Jawad, right? Jawad. Jawad is a popular name. It means someone who's very generous, who keeps giving, right? So that's the verb. Jada yajudu, right? Someone who gives generously. So the literal meaning is the rock gives, right? This is the fi'l, and that's the fa'il. The rocks gives generous amount of what? Of water, of pleasant and sweet water. So zulal is sweet or pleasant, and ma is water. So what is it trying to say? What is the meaning? This is a metaphor that conveys the meaning of something that is impossible to happen. Will you ever come across a hard rock that will suddenly give out drinkable water? Right? So it's a way of saying it's impossible, right? Do we have anything like that in English? Do we have like a saying or an idiom that refers to something that's impossible to happen? Can anyone think of any? Pigs never fly. Yes, yes, yes. So there's always things like that. They say pigs. Usually, when someone is talking and the other person is not looking, then you start saying, "Oh, pigs can fly," and they just change the topic like that, right? It happens in marriages as well. When the spouse is talking, and then they suddenly say, "Pigs can fly," and so on, just to see if the other person is listening or not. Right? So here, what this means is, "Jadat is-sakhratu bil-ma'i zulal." Impossible to happen. Okay, of course, you will never have water gushing out of a rock and the water is sweet and drinkable. Okay, so once again, we'll read this paragraph. الغد صدر مملوء بالأسرار الغزار تحوم حوله البصائر وتتسقطه العقول وتستدرجه الأنظار. استدرج يستدرج. Which bab does that belong to? استدرج أنظار. Form number 10, isn't it? استدرج يستدرج. استنصر يستنصر. فلا يبوح بسر من أسراره إلا إذا جادت الصخرة بالماء الزلال. أي أسئلة? Any questions? واضح إن شاء الله؟ Clear? All good? تمام. جيد. Okay. So he continues and he says, just delete this so I can have some space. So he says, كأني. What does كأن mean? I mentioned it, I think, a couple of weeks ago or last week. كأن. What does كأن mean? كأن. Anybody recall? Just like, or like that, as if, isn't it? So we have ka is a harf jar, ka, which means like for or belonging to, and then anna, right? Literally it means for that, but together, كأن is very this word appears a lot in poetry and prose, prose that talks about life and so on. There's a lot of comparisons. Like or as if. You're comparing two things. Okay? كأن. Okay, so كأني, right? كأني بالغد. Okay. So this is interesting. When you have كأن plus the harf jar ba, right? This gives the meaning of I am imagining. Right? And the I comes from كأني. Alright, so just take it from me as it is now. We should not need to go into details. But كأني be something means I'm imagining this object. It's as if I am with this object. It's as if I am seeing this object. Does that make sense? كأني بالغد. Right? If you want a really literal meaning to understand the ultimate meaning, you can say it's as if I am together with tomorrow. In other words, I can see it in my eyes, in front of my eyes. كأني بالغد يعني أتخيل الغد. It means I'm imagining tomorrow. تمام؟ كأني بالغد, it's as if I am with tomorrow. In other words, كأني بالغد, it's as if I am imagining tomorrow. But imagining doesn't just mean, like here he's saying it's as if I can see tomorrow, like literally in front of my eyes. Right? So that's what he's saying. So كأني بالغد. كأني بالغد. So it's جار مجرور. كأني بالغد وهو. What does huwa mean in this case? When you use huwa to a non-human, how do you understand it? Clearly it's not talking about someone. It's talking about tomorrow, right? So you say it, right? وهو. كأني بالغد وهو. The harf jar wa generally means and. What is another common meaning for wa? While, isn't it? While. So I think here while makes more sense. It's as if I am imagining tomorrow while it is وهو كامن في مكمنه. Okay, there's a lot of imagery here, so brace yourselves. وهو كامن في مكمنه. Okay, so كامن, is it an ism? Is it a fa'al? Is it a harf? What is it? كامن. It's an ism from the sarf table. It's ism fa'il, right? It's the doer. So every time we have like ism fa'il or ism maf'ul, it's preferred to learn the actual verb. So when you learn the verb, then you can actually understand the meaning of the isms that are derived from the verb. Okay. So I've included this morning, so you can see the updated vocab list on the link. So where is it? Yeah, kamana. Kamana yakmunu kumunan. What does it mean? It means to conceal or to cover oneself. It means to conceal. It means to conceal or to cover oneself. Okay, so keep that meaning in mind. So from the bab of nasara yansuru. كأني بالغد وهو كامن في. So okay, so it's as if I am imagining tomorrow while it is concealing itself في مكمنه. What do you think? What type of a mushtaq is makman? What type of a derived word is makman? Three different answers. It can't be maf'ul because the maf'ul for thulathi mujarrad is on the pattern of maf'ul, and every other higher verb form has its own patterns for maf'ul. This doesn't really fit any of them. Right, so the maf'ul, it can't be maf'ul. It's ism makan, isn't it? Place, yeah. It's like maktab, makman, masjid, right? I think Irfan said it first, darf, right? So this is, you can say an ism makan, which means a noun that indicates place. a noun that indicates place. When we say, for example, kataba, right, he writes. Yaktubu, mudari, he is writing. Katib is the one who writes. Maktub is the thing being written on. And then we have maktab. Maktab is the place that you're writing in. Okay, it's the place that you're writing in. Or it could be on as well, because maktab can also mean a desk. So it's the place that you're writing on. Okay, maktub is the thing that you're actually writing on, like so let's say maktab is the place, and then the paper would be the maktub. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is what we call an isim makan. All right, it's from the sarf table, from the mushtaqat, we call it an isim makan. Okay, so it's from the same verb as kamin, kamana. So he's saying that it's as if I'm imagining tomorrow while it is concealing itself in its place of concealment, in the place where it's actually hidden. All right? So I'm seeing it in its place of hiding. I'm saying tomorrow hidden in its place wherever it's hiding. Okay, kaminun fi makmani. You can understand it as well as, like if I say katibun fi maktabi. Right? So he's writing in his place of writing. رابض, so this is also ism fa'il. رابض في مجثم. Very similar structure to كامن في مكمن رابض في مجثم. Okay, so what does رابض mean? So ربض يربض ربضا means to kneel down, to rest or to lie, to coil one's body into a small space. This is usually used for like cats and lions and so on. You know how they gather themselves just when they're ready to pounce? So they gather themselves, they sit down, they hide themselves, and they really gather themselves, their body together, right? And they're just waiting and looking. Okay, so that's the imagery here. So he's saying, okay, so rabidun, kneeling down or coiling oneself, gathering oneself together, fi majthami. Majtham is the place that this rabd happens. Okay, but he's just used a synonym there because they don't. A good writer will prefer not to repeat words if possible, right? So majtham is the same exact meaning as marbad if you use the ism makan for rabid. Okay, but he just used a different word. That's the author. Some authors usually do that. Fi makman, he chose the exact same word from kamana, but majtham, he could have just said marbad, but he didn't. He just used majtham. Okay, and also, by the way, majtham is more used anyway. Okay, so he's concealing himself in his place of concealment, coiling himself up in his place, in the place of wherever he's coiling himself up. So he's seeing, right? It's as if he's seeing tomorrow, hiding itself. I think it's called perching in English, right? Just sitting there in the corner, gathering itself together and just waiting, right? Just waiting. Mutalaffi'un. Okay, what bab do you think this belongs to? Mutalaffi'un. Mutalaffi'un. Which bab do you think it belongs to? It's a bit short for form 2. It's form number 5, isn't it? Form number 5. Talaffa'a, yatalaffa'u, and then this is the ism fa'il. Mutalaffi'un. Right? Taqabbala, yataqabbalu, mutaqabbilun. It literally rhymes with the verb itself. Okay? Mutalaffi'un. So تلفع يتلفع, and this usually comes with the حرف الجر متلفع بي. And I've included the ism here because the ism is more used than the fi'l. متلفع بي means to cover, to wrap oneself with something. Right? I could say متلفع, I don't know, بالقميص. He wrapped himself with his shirt for whatever reason, right? Okay. متلفع بي. He wrapped himself, covered himself with فضلي. بفضل إزاره. Okay. So it is wrapping itself. Fadl means surplus or excess. Okay. Now, if I tell you what does fadl mean, what comes to your mind? Someone, when we say fadl, or someone who is fadil. Fadl. Min fadlik, right? So min fadlik means it's used when we say please, but the literal meaning is from your kindness, right? So usually fadl, right? There's a verse in the Quran that says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, قُلْ إِنَّ الْفَضْلَ بِيَدِ اللَّهِ, or something along those lines. Is that this fadl, this kindness, belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So fadl means kindness, but kindness in its root meaning is really an extra act of a deed, isn't it? Because there's basic interaction, and then when you go beyond that kindness, that's what's extra. You didn't have to do it, right? So sometimes these words that we use in Arabic, when you look at the root meaning, there's a very strong relation with root meanings. Because fadl, at its linguistic meaning, means a ziyada. It means extra, surplus, excess, right? But we use fadl to mean kindness or generosity because kindness and generosity are extra actions that a human being takes voluntarily, usually, right? There's a basic interaction, and then there's kindness is usually above and beyond, right? So it's extra. It's ziyadatul fi'l. It's extra action. So fadl is surplus or excess. So here, متلفع بفضل إزاره. Izar, and some of you might have heard this, Izar is the material used for wrapping, usually the lower half of the body. If you've been to like some countries where they wear, like, how the men, they kind of wear like a skirt like thing. I think in Bangladesh, for example, they use it. Perhaps in I think in Indonesia as well, if I'm not mistaken, or Malaysia, one of them, they wrap themselves, like a skirt, like, or usually when men go to pray, if you've noticed, men when they go to the mosque, yeah, they call it a lungi as well, right? So they wrap themselves like the kilt in Scotland. Yes, exactly, right? So that's what we call izar. Okay, it's usually used to wrap yourself in the lower body of the lower half of the body. It's usually for men. It's usually for men. Izar. But sometimes what happens is, if you've noticed, very similar to ihram. If the ihram pictures that you see, they wrap themselves around, and then there's that extra bit of cloth left. What do they do with that extra bit? They cover, they wrap their upper body with it, right? And you see, and usually you see this with the older pictures as well. Sometimes when you see in movies and so on, they wrap the lower part of the body, and then the excess cloth they just usually just put it above and wrap the upper body as well. Okay, so here he is saying that tomorrow, this tomorrow is sitting in its place, coiled up, hiding in its place, mutalaffi'un, wrapping itself with this excess cloth, right? So he's comparing this to a human being, where a human being is sitting. Usually when someone says that, they wrap themselves up, they probably have time, they're relaxing, right? So they're just chilling, you can say, in slang language. And they're just sitting there, they wrap themselves up and they're just waiting. All right, so I hope that image is in your mind. So what is he doing? What is this person doing? ينظر نظر ينظر, looking. It is looking, ينظر, إلى, to, آمالنا وأمانينا. آمالنا وأمانينا. Right? So these two words, very, very common words. You should definitely learn these. So amal is a plural word, and the singular form is amal. The mufrad is amal, which means hope or expectation, right? So it's a very popular name for females in the Arab world, right? So amal, when you hear someone's name is amal, that means hope or expectation. Okay, and the plural form is amal, hopes and expectations, right? And then you have amani. Amani is the jama' of umniya. A lot of the times these two words are used interchangeably, but there's a subtle difference between them. Umniya or amani is more like an ambition or a purpose or aspiration, right? Amal is hope or expectation. Usually in Arabic, they say that amal is something that you plan for step by step. Okay, I'm going to go to university, I'll get my bachelor degree, then I'll get my master's, then I'll get my PhD, and then I will become an academic or a doctor or whatever, right? There's steps. You're hoping, you're expecting to take these steps. That's amal. Amani, on the other hand, ambition is, let's say, you're like, you sometimes you sit down and you think, you know what? One day I want to change the world. Right? One day I want to become such an important person. So there isn't a strict plan, but it's an ambition. Right? It's an aspiration, right? So that's a subtle difference. However, having said that, it is used interchangeably in the language to mean hope, aspiration, expectation, ambition, and so on. Okay, but do keep that difference in mind. But if you use it, especially in speaking, like people usually assume it's the same thing, amal and umniya. Okay. So so tomorrow is yanzuru ila amalina wa amanina. It is looking at our hopes and aspirations. نظرات الهزء والسخرية. Okay, and for those who studied intermediate Arabic grammar 2 onwards, you know that this is مفعول مطلق. Okay, مفعول مطلق gives the kind of the verb. For example, I could say, ضربته ضربا. That's usually the common example given. When I say ضربته ضربا, what I'm saying is I beat him, and then I'm using the masdar ضربا, right? In other words, I beat him really bad, right? So here we have ينظر نظرات. It is looking at us. So tomorrow is looking at us, or looking at our hopes and aspirations. What is this kind of looking, right? Because the looking can be disgusting. You're looking at something disgustingly. You're looking at something pleasantly. You're looking at something surprisingly, right? You're looking at something sadly, right? So what is this kind of look? Because when someone looks at your hopes and aspirations, usually it's a good thing, right? Maybe someone is praying that you accomplish them. But what tomorrow does, it looks at our hopes and aspirations. نظرات الهزء والسخرية. It's looking, I'll give you a literal meaning. It is looking at our hopes and aspirations with the looking of huz and sukhriya. Huz and sukhriya are very similar meaning. Even here I've included both the same meanings. Huz and sukhriya means with ridicule and mocking. Okay, with maybe sarcasm, or with foolishness. Just probably wondering how foolish are these people. So huz and sukhriya are the same meaning. So, right? So tomorrow it's just sitting there chilling, and it's hiding in the corner. Its izar is on top of it, the extra bit, relaxing and just looking at us. Oh my God, this guy is hoping he's going to university tomorrow. He's gonna fail the exam, pretty much mocking and ridiculing. This guy thinks he's gonna get married, but it's not gonna happen. This parent thinks that they're gonna have a child. It's not gonna happen. Keep trying, right? So this idea of looking at us with ridiculing and mocking and so on. وَيَبْتَسِمُ, and it's smiling. Usually smiling is a good thing, isn't it? وَيَبْتَسِمُ. But if you want to clarify the kind of the verb, we call this نوع, النوع, بيان النوع, right? Clarifying the type. وَيَبْتَسِمُ, and it's smiling. يبتسم means to smile. ابتسامات الاستخفاف والازدراء. These are all, إضافة phrases, right? So it is smiling, but it's not a good smile. And وَيَبْتَسِمُ, and it is smiling, a smiling of, I'm giving a literal meaning, a smiling of istighfaf wasdira. Once again, very similar in meaning. Istighfaf and izdira mean istighfaf is belittlement, izdira is debasing or humiliation, right? Another very common word for izdira is ihtiqar. You might hear this more. Ihtiqar, right? Ihtiqar is the act of debasing someone, and when you say someone is haqir, you're saying that someone is, debased, humiliated, right? So this is the imagery that he's giving of tomorrow. It's looking at us with looks of ridicule and mockery, and it's smiling at us with smilings of debasement and humiliation, right? And I'll just read the end of the paragraph. I'm not sure if we'll finish it, but let's see. يقول في نفسه. So from here till the end of the paragraph is not that heavy. يقول في نفسه. He is saying within himself, right? The tomorrow is saying within himself. لو علم هذا الجامع أنه يجمع للوارث. لو علم هذا الجامع. Right? You always have to translate the fa'il first. So if this gatherer, jami' is someone who gathers. If this gatherer knew, alima, that he is gathering lilwarith, for the one who inherits, right? For the one who inherits. وَهَذَا الْبَانِي, and this builder, bana yabni, bani is the ism fa'il, the one who builds. وَهَذَا الْبَانِي أَنَّهُ يَبْنِي لِلْخَرَابِ, and this builder, that he is building for destruction, right? I will come to their meaning. وَهَذَا, and this, وَهَذَا الْوَالِدِ, and this, walid means father, but it can also refer to someone who gives birth, right? وَهَذَا الْوَالِدِ, and this person giving birth, أَنَّهُ يَلِدُ, that he is giving birth only for death, للموت, right? للموت. What's the answer? ما جمع الجامع, right? This ma here is negation. Definitely, the gatherer will not gather. ولا بنى الباني, and the builder will not build. ولا ولد الوالد, and the one giving birth will not give birth, right? So he's saying that tomorrow is sitting there laughing at us, making fun of us, saying, oh, if only the person who's gathering all this wealth, if only he knew that he's only gathering wealth so that it will be inherited. And this builder, he keeps building all these massive buildings and houses. Eventually, it will be destroyed anyway. It'll get old and, it will be replaced and so on. وَهَذَا الْوَالِدِ, and this person giving birth, planning to give birth, at the end of the day, he's only giving birth for that person to pass away, right? If only they knew this, then the one who is gathering would never have gathered, the one who builds would never have built, and the one who gives birth would not even think of giving birth. Right? So that's the end of that passage, and I've included all those verbs here, okay? So ibtasama, yabtasimu, ibtisam, to smile. Jama'a, yajma'u, jam'an, is to gather something. Waritha, yarithu, wiratha, is to inherit. Bana, yabni, bina'an, bunyanan, it has two popular masdars, to build. Walada, yalidu, wilada, is to give birth. Is that understood, everyone? Was that clear up to that point? Yeah, you guys are not lost so far? Inshallah. Well, it's good that these things are recorded. You can always go back to them. Right? Okay, so for next week, we have a long passage. Well, not that long, but I will give all the meanings hopefully before the class. Okay? It was much more difficult this time, yeah. Especially this part was difficult. Because once again, there's a lot of imagery, right? So he's saying something, but he's really comparing it to something else. There's a lot of metaphor, yep. All right, guys. Once again, the best way to benefit is once you learn these things is to read it again and again and again. Sometimes even 20 times, 30 times, right? You got to keep reading it. Vocab lists will not really help you if you don't put them in context. So have this printed in front of you, put the meanings on the sides, keep reading it, keep revising, and that's how you will pick up meanings of words, okay? So work hard, inshallah, and we'll see you guys next week. Jazakumullah khair. Have a good week. مع السلامة.
إلى اللقاء.
إلى اللقاء.